Good day to you all. Welcome to Maths Global Learning Hub with Mr. T. In today's lesson, we are going to add and subtract binary numbers. And binary numbers are numbers which are in base 2. And in base 2, we only have two numbers. We have 0 and 1. And that's what we are going to work with. And number 1, let's do the addition. If I add here 1 plus 0, I'm going to get 1, and 1 is a number that is in base 2. If I say 1 plus 1, I'm going to get 2, and 2 is not a number that is in base 2, so I'm going to write here 2 divided by 2. I'm going to get 1, remainder 0. I'm going to write the 0 here, then I carry 1. If I add again, I'm going to get 1 plus 1, I'm going to get 2, and 2 is a number that is not in base 2, so I'm going to say 2 divided by 2, I get 1, remainder 0. I'm going to write the 0 here, then I carry the 1. 1 plus 1 gives me 2, I'm going to write 0, and then I carry 1, and this is going to be my final answer. And if I move on to the next one here, number 2, when I add here, I'm going to say 0 plus 1, I'm going to get 1, which is a number in base 2. But if I say 1 plus 1, I'm going to get 2, so I'm going to say 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, remainder 0, so I must write here 0, then I carry the 1. And if I add this column here, I'm going to get 3, and 3 is a number that is not in base 2, so I'm going to write here 3 divided by 2, which gives me 1, remainder 1. So I'm going to write here 1, carry 1, and 1 plus 1 gives me 2, and 2 is a number that is not in base 2, so I'm going to write here 0, then I carry 1, and I'm going to get 1 here. And so this will be my final answer in base 2. Now let's move on to number 3. In this case here, we need to subtract the two numbers. And if I look at my numbers here, I can see that I need to use the method of borrowing. And my borrowing is going to start from here. If I borrow from here, I'm going to be left with a 0. But remember, because I'm in base 2, I've borrowed a 2, so I'm going to write 2 here. But when I look at this section here, I also need to borrow for this part here. And if I borrow here, I'm going to be left with 1. And here, I'm going to have a 2. But if I look at this part here, 0 minus 1, I have to borrow here. From this part here, I'm going to be left with 1. And this part is going to be a 2, because I am in base 2. And then, if I look at the last column here, I also need to borrow again. So I'm going to be left with 1, and this part is going to be 2. Then I can proceed with my subtraction. And remember, my answer is going to be in base 2. I'm going to get 1 here. I'm going to get 0. I'm going to get 0. And I'm going to get 1. And that will be my final answer. If I move on to number 4, in number 4, if I subtract here, I'm going to get 1. But if I say 0 minus 1, I have to borrow. So if I borrow here, I'm going to be left with a 0. And this part is going to be 0 plus 2. Because remember, I'm operating in base 2. And when I subtract this part here, I'm going to get 1. And if I subtract here, I'm going to get 0. In this part here, or in this column here, I have to borrow. And if I borrow here, I'm left with a 0. And then because I'm in base 2, I've borrowed a 2, which I've added to a 0 to give me 2. And if I subtract here, I'm going to get 1. And this part is going to give me 0. And this part is going to give me 1. And that will be my final answer.